Hi, hello everybody. Hope you're all right. I think it's fair to start already. Now it's already a few minutes past 7, so we're just going to start day 4 of Mistika Essentials. And wait. Okay, so again, just like we did in the previous classes, I recommend you to join the Mistika 10 global community in the Slack group. And remember that you can also go there and even contact me if you need to ask me any questions or whatever. Okay, so whenever I can, I'll be and I'm available, I might be able to answer. But there's also a very a good number of Mistika Ops and Mistika Ninjas over there that might be able of answering your questions as well. So that is okay. There's no new media today except for some ARRI and RED sample footage that we're going to look into today to kind of learn a little bit of color management and setting HDR workflows and stuff like that. Okay, so that's it. Then, if you want me to check any of your work and to kind of see if you can get certified with ICA, please send me your .env, which is the time space in Mistika, the environment file, to my iColorist email. Send it over there. I'll download it. I'll relink to the media that I shared with you. And if you successfully finished the project, well, obviously that I will let you know. And also, obviously, comment anything that I might see that you would want to do. Yeah, please do this in the following days, whenever you think you have grasped the whole thing to deliver it to me. Today we're going to learn how to create display filters. Of last week we already saw how we could do presets and how we could do use dummy clips to do presets. Today we're going to learn to do display filters. And for example, the first obvious example is going to create a display filter when the working resolution doesn't match the monitor output resolution. In this case, I have an HD monitor and we're going to open an Ultra HD project. And I'm going to show you how we could create display filters to output that correctly in Mistika. We'll work with raw media clips as well with RED and ARRI, the ones I've said before. And we're going to see a little bit of color management with camera native versus an Asus workflow as well. And over here, we're going to see how we can also create display filters to help us creatively while we do these type of jobs. Then we're going to go back to our edit, the edit as we left it last week. Okay. And we're going to learn several ways of how we can work faster. With our grade. We're going to learn what the propagate tool is. Actually, the propagate tool, we're already going to learn it when we are working with raw media, but we're going to use it as well here. We're also going to use the match and paste function, which actually it's going to be really powerful. And also learn how dynamic grades work and how when we copy grades, how this is replicated. We also going to define gangs, which we already looked at the, I think it was in the second class, but we're going to look into it and see how with gangs we can ripple grades across our timeline. Then we will import some audio files, learn how the audio files are distributed inside Mistika. We'll use the routing interface to do that and do the final touches of our online, position our GFX over the grade, add a TV bug to our edit, and hit render. Okay. In the process of hitting render, obviously we will learn how to create render presets and how to define different rules of rendering and learn the render output panel in Angular. Okay. Thanks a lot for joining me during these 4 sessions. It's been a great experience. It's been really good. And again, I remind you that if you want me to evaluate whatever you've done during these 4 weeks, send me the .env file to my email address, francisco.ramos.howell@icolorist.com. Okay, and that is the introduction for our class day number 4. Let's close this right now. Oops. Okay, so as I said in the beginning, today we are going to learn how to do display filters, and we're going to learn to do the most basic one when there is a mismatch between working resolution and output resolution. Okay, in Mistika, you have to create a display filter for this. So that's how we're going to do it. So in this case, instead of going to the preset that we already have, let's go to 3840 by 2161. Okay, but obviously that would be my factory preset here for this. Okay, and I'm going to create a new one. Just obviously we know this is different. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go for this one. I'm going to go for 4096 by 2160. I think we're going to see that a lot better with not the same aspect ratio. That's why. So obviously I'm going to hit new. It's gonna wait a second. First, obviously, just to show you how the factory preset is by default. Okay, master formats is the most important one over here. So we see here that we have 4096 by 2160. The aspect ratio is 186. We have obviously the auto detect video board here, 30 frames per second. Well, in this case, I think I'm going to put 24 because I think the media we're going to be working is 24. And obviously how the video board in this case is built inside Mistika and how I've configured that right now. This case, what I'm going to do is create a new one and just call it Mistika Essentials 4096 by 2960, right? Yeah, 2960. Okay, why so? Because when I go here to master formats, I'm actually going to say, hey, my video output is just 1920 by 1080. It's not. I do not have a monitor here to view this at 4K. I just have a monitor to view this at 1920 by 1080. Okay, so how is Mistika going to adjust to that? That's what we are going to see right now. So I'm going to press OK. And double click and open Mistika. Okay, over here, I'm going to create another project call this a new project. Obviously here it's reminding me the project settings that are currently defined in the mconfig, okay? And I'm obviously going to say, yeah, okay. I'm fine with that. And the project name here, let's call it Mistika Essentials 4K. Hey, RK, no, 4K. That's okay. And over here in this case, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and get some test footage here from ARRI. And let's say import all sequences. Obviously, it's going to ask me where do I want this saved. I'm going to hit cancel for now because something I didn't explain the first day was that this path that Mistika creates by default, you can actually change and change how that is created. By over here in setup, you can actually say organize how you want to organize all the files, and the target folder over here it says use all folders or just use last folder name, which is the one I normally prefer to do. Okay, so again, now that I've changed that, and actually here as separator, I actually prefer underscore, and that's it. And if I go back here to media and again press import all sequences, we're going to see now that the option that it's giving me, it's not taking into account all the folders that we had before. It's just taking into account the last folder name of that folder structure, which is actually the one I want to use. In this case, we could replicate the folder tree, but I'm just going to import and load the clips into my timeline. Okay, so my clips are into my timeline, and if unfortunately here, when we see it in our GUI monitor, and this GUI monitor, it is showing the whole picture, okay? It is showing it, the whole picture. So that might be a bit confusing when actually maybe in your output monitor, you have another resolution. In this case, for example, you can't see it here right now. I have an HD output resolution, okay? So when I try to see this correctly, I actually see it zoomed in, cropped, okay? So that is actually not helpful for me. So how we're gonna fix that in Mistika is by using the framing effect, okay? And here in the framing effect right now, I have the option here of the result size that go to live output. And in live output, you can see that over here, it's actually saying that the live output is 1920 by 1080. And now it is doing that pad to fit. It's squeezing in that 4960 of the project, okay, to my monitor, okay? But we want to create, obviously, a display filter for that. So every time I come in, I view this properly. So how we gonna do that is, first of all, I'm actually going to use a dummy clip for this. I'm going to copy and paste it on top here. Okay. And we know over here, you can see you have a graphic representation of what is being displayed in the monitor right now. The green dotted line represents my output monitor, which is 1920 by 1080, and how Mistika is squeezing in the working resolution inside that HD monitor resolution. And here I have live output. And from here, I'm just going to go to my display filter menu. And here in Create Display Filter, I'm going to say pad to fit. Okay. And now you can see that over here, that dummy clip with the framing effect have disappeared from my timeline. So that's why it's tricky, because maybe you want to do another one. Like, for example, now that I'm here and I'm doing all of these, I'm going to do all the options possible. So in one go, we create all the possibilities of viewing different resolutions inside our monitor. And here, just by pressing undo, I've recovered the dummy clip and the framing effect. So we can see here that now in the display filter folder, we see that we have our clip. Okay, what is going on is that now I'm viewing this correctly in my monitor once I go to display filters, okay, define display filter pad to fit, say this needs to be in my live video output, and now in my live video output, I'm seeing exactly the same thing that I did. Here you go. If I click here, you could see actually the representation of what is going on. Obviously there it's saying that's the source size of what is going on, and in this case, one-to-one result size, but no, that's actually what I'm seeing right now is now the pad to fit there. But let's build display filters for all our other options. We did this one, which was pad to fit, and just to keep the name, let's say here pad to fit. Okay. Let's clone this, put it on the side. And this one is going to be crop to fit. So over here, when I have this display filter, okay, I'm going to turn off my display filter for now over here, because I'm going to create another one, which is going to be called crop to fit. Oops, sorry, I have to check first that obviously I'm seeing this correctly. Yeah, there we go, crop to fit. Okay, create display filter. Okay, and you can see that now. You can even see how graphically it's shown differently as well inside the display filter icon here. Okay, actually I'm going to undo to recover that, because we're going to do one more. Which is going to be pixels one-to-one center crop, okay, which is just the center pixels of my image. As we can see it there, I'm going to create this display filter, which is going to call it center crop. Output, just to remember, obviously this, we're going to the output, and you could see there now in the icons that Mistika builds for every single display filter, how we have the different versions of our output monitoring, okay? And if we wanted to, in case we were working with maybe some projector that is not even or something, we could even go to complete fit to fill uneven scale over here and create another preset, which is fit fill output. Okay, so there we go. We've created all 3 versions of this, and as soon as I change it here, crop to fit, whatever, let's see it with our monitoring with something over here. When I go here to my display filters and I change from one to another in my live, and if I press on GUI, it's going to show it on the GUI there, just for you guys to have a view for a second. Pad to fit, crop to fit, fit fill, obviously, and center crop output. There we go. What I'm seeing actually right now in my video output, okay, as it is right now. Obviously, this is not something that I want to apply in the GUI. This is the cool thing of display filters, is that you can define where it's going to be shown. If it's going to be in the GUI, if it's going to be in the live output, if it's going to be only in the render, or if it's going to be in the scopes, because maybe you want to do a color selection of maybe the shadows or the midtones or the highlights, and you want to display that into the scopes only, and you would be able to see only the midtones or the shadows of your scopes. And if you want this to stream, so maybe you could actually build a display filter with a watermark that when you're streaming, you are actually taking care that obviously that has a watermark on. So obviously there is no implications of someone not seeing this, someone that not authorized seeing it or getting the images. Okay, in this case, I'm going to leave it in live, and we're going to go back to our footage. I've seen there's been some movement in the chat. Are the display filters rendered in the final render? Instead, how does it compare to resize or transform? Okay, no, not necessarily. Actually, in the display filters, when you click on it and you have render, you actually could define display filters to do a render. And actually, we're going to see this later in the render panel. There's another option here inside of scaling the images as well later on after the render. Okay, so you would have those kind of 2 different options. Unless you say so, the display filter is not going to be shown in the render. Okay, you need to say so. I have barely used it in the render. If I'm completely honest, I've used it more to display information for me in the video output rather than burning it in a file. I generally want to see what I'm rendering on the file in my timeline. That would be my way of thinking. Okay. Any more questions? I don't think there were, but just in case, double check. Oh, how does it compare to resize or transform? Well, it's just another resize or transform. It's actually the same algorithms than the framing effect that it has. So it's just exactly that, but only for the video output. Okay, so now let's focus a little bit on the media that we're working on here right now. Let's get rid of this presets menu here for a second. And okay, we've got some ARRI footage here. I'm gonna now not show, show you. Okay, and we're gonna define how we work with it. in this case. So now every raw media clip is going to have the raw parameters inside the clip information, okay? So over here, you will be able to change the ISO values, the Kelvin, the tint, the color space, color management information, and with the reduce factor, you can define any reduce factor in the mconfig, or you can override it. So 1 second, I'm going to open the mconfig for this. Mistika configuration tool, and we're going to see that at the very end in codecs here, we could see how we can define different reduce factors of our raw media, okay? And in this case, the reduce factor is 1, so we actually see a 1-to-1 reduce factor. If we wanted to change it, we could change it from here. And the ARRI decoder, it also is asking you if you want to Mistika to decode this automatically, or if you want to do it via CPU, OpenGL, OpenCL, or CUDA. And same thing for the red decoder as well. And then over here for performance optimizations, you could change some of the values over there. Okay, so well, first thing that we're going to learn here is that obviously, as we saw in previous classes, every clip is going to have a transform parameter inside. And in this case, for example, just because of how this was shot, instead of pat to fit, maybe we want to do crop to fit, or maybe crop to fit is a bit too much, but well, we could scale it down over here. And maybe just, well, let's leave it there for a second. Color-wise, what can we do here color-wise? Obviously, in ARRI, we could choose the output color space. And if you want to work in log C, you could leave it, obviously, as it came from camera. Okay, or if, depending if you want to export to any other option, you will have all the different options that ARRI offer in this case, okay? As we are talking here right now, I actually believe that all clips here are log C wide gamut, and yes, that is correct. And all of them are in the native ISO. So, for example, let's imagine that we want to change this to 400, okay? Not that I recommend it, but just to kind of show you what we're doing. Okay, let me open a scope here. And let's see the storyboard, yeah. So I change this to 400. Obviously, that's going to drop the exposure. And then I'm going to hit propagate. And I'm going to say propagate all objects. And Mistika now is going to tell me, be careful, propagate will overwrite the selected parameters of all clips of the same type in the timeline. No conditions specified, all clips will be overwritten. Do you wish to proceed? Yes. This is obviously very destructive inside your timeline, so do it when you know exactly what you're doing. In this case, all our clips are ARRI, and we are here trying to prove what propagate effect does. So I'm going to press OK. And now, as soon as I go to the next shots, you can see that the ISO has changed. Only the ISO has changed in all the clips that I'm working on right now, okay? And this is a log C files, and all of them are in 400. I can reset this, put this to 800 as it was, and perform the propagate again, and just leave it how it was. in all these clips. And it goes back to well, how it was. Interesting thing about the propagate, especially when we're using the transform, is we could change the filter and maybe use a higher quality one. And normally this is something that we're going to do in our edits, on our online edits that we're working on. And we're going to perform propagate there in everything that has it, just to be sure that everything is being scaled at the highest quality. Okay, so now over here, all these clips are in log-C ARRI wide gamut. So let's imagine we are going to apply a color grade effect on our clip here. And on top of this, we're going to apply LUT. And in this case, if I go to LUT 3D, I have some of the ARRI LUTs over here. And I'm going to use the ARRI log-C to video classic 709, which is the classic K1 S1 ARRI to 709. ARRI log-C to Rec 709 LUT, and I press OK. Okay, now, so over here, what I'll be doing is I can start doing my grade, and I'll be doing my grade over a log-C curve. Okay, so see, I'm making it warmer there with gamma. Okay. And this is just my grade over here in log-C. Let me see if I could, if I wanted to copy this stack to all my clips here in one go, I would actually copy this clip, Control-C. Okay, this clip with its effects. And then I will just select the other clips and hit match and paste. And match and paste is was built really to help adjusting a color grade that we've done from a larger edit to maybe a smaller edit, or any edit changes that we might have. And match and paste was built exactly for that. But one thing that was that is really useful is that actually you can copy a whole stack that you've built if you actually remove any rules of matching into the match and paste options. Okay, and as soon as you hit paste, it will copy the stack to all the clips in one go. So that makes it kind of useful. Obviously here now we could see, oh, obviously it did copy my framing attributes of this clip. That's interesting. And in this case, what I'm going to do is obviously change this one to pad to fit. Wait a second. It did change the anamorph factor of some of these clips. So yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, okay, now that should be corrected and all. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we have the color grade applied over here. Gonna reset the scale as well and some of these clips. And instead of crop, let's use pad. And here in propagate, actually, cool thing is if you don't want to propagate to all these clips, you just want to propagate them to the ones you have selected. You can select them here in the timeline, go to curves, and over here, choose the parameters you want to be propagated, okay? And over here, just say to selected. And now all these clips have all the same information, except the one that I didn't want to propagate, which was scale X and scale Y at 74. All the other ones are respected as it was, okay? So now I've got here my Lot3D on top of my log-C grade. Okay, but now I'm going to import some red footage. Okay, and let's import just single clip for now. If I go here to red, let me just import one. Maybe this one, let's do that one. Yep, link as progressive, and it drops it there. Okay, so I'm gonna pack it to left. So what is going on here now? Obviously, this has a different attributes, has completely different attributes. And obviously in this grade that we're doing, we are working in a log-C working space. We're not working in a working space that the red camera files can work on. Obviously, we would have the red IPP2 processing options here, but we could change them if necessary. We could go here to different options if we want to work with red IPP2 options, okay, or primary only, or in this case, if we want to change the gamma curve of our shot, I could go to log3G10 and color space red, white gamut RGB, okay? And I do this because if I want to use the same color grade node and Lot3D effect, actually I need to drop this down a track. I'm going to add a unicolor effect. This unicolor effect is the effect that we're going to use most in Mistika to do any color transforms, okay? So over here, if I were to say, actually, I want to color grade this shot using some of the color grading options that I've already applied over my ARRI log-C images. And in this case, what I have to say is this is a red log3G10 file. The input gamut is red, white gamut RGB. I do want to convert the gamut, obviously. I want it to look correctly. And here in output gamut, I will have to go to ARRI Alexa white gamut, okay? And output curve is obviously going to be log-C from ARRI, meaning that over here, I could apply, I could copy these two color grades first, and then this other Lot3D over here, and paste it on top. And obviously now the grade will work exactly the same as it did with my other clips, okay? I'll be doing obviously some color management in a clip per clip basis, okay? This is how it would be done if we are using color space transforms in other systems. You would do this in the unicolor on a node per node basis, but obviously there is some advantages here, which if you go and right now I import the rest of these clips. Okay. And in this case, what I'm going to do here is I do want over here, I'm going to go all objects because these attributes are only available in red clips. So I'm going to hit perform propagate. And now all my red clips are going to be in log3g10. There you go, log3g10, red, white gamut, okay. All of them are like that. I could then apply my unicolor effect on all of them, and obviously the grade, and also the LUT 3D, okay? And there we would see how our grades that were done in log-C. We've used log-C as our working space, and with the unicolor, what we've done is transform some of those cameras that, for example, if you're working in a show where you have a primary camera, and that primary camera is in this case ARRI, you would be able to transform all the other cameras, B and C cameras that there's a lot less content of, to the ARRI log-C to basically follow any color corrections that you've been doing over your main camera. So that is how we will be able of doing it. And that's a way of doing it in Mistika with, in this case, LUT 3D. But let's change this a bit for a second. What if we don't have a LUT 3D and we want to build this in Mistika for a second? So what I'm going to do is actually clone all this. Oops. And paste it over here. And I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, you don't want to use the K1S1 ARRI look in all this. So we're going to add 2 color grade effects, 1, and then we're going to apply a unicolor effect. And then another color grade effect here. You're going to say, why? Why is that? Well, thing is, over here in Mistika, you would be working obviously on your log-C working space, so to speak. And then here in the unicolor, you might go and say, okay, this is obviously log-C. Input gamut is Alexa white gamut. ARRI, we're going to convert the gamut. And over here, we're going to go to now our Rec 709 and output curve of BT 1886, gamma 2.4 here. And there we go. And you can see here that suddenly many, obviously, of the information is clipping here. Well, the reason is that the unicolor effect on its own does not have tone mapping, okay? And that's why I add a color corrector on top. So I can define tone mapping myself, which I could do by obviously bringing the offset down a bit and then using the soft clip to bring some of that information back in. Some operators prefer to have this so they can build on a shot-to-shot basis a very specific tone mapping for their edit, okay? So they can actually have a larger control over the tone mapping compared to any other tone mapping that they want, okay? And you could easily, let's propagate these now, in this case, to current track. That's what we're going to do. Over here, I'm going to propagate this to my current track. And now every single unicolor in this track has now the same attributes. Okay, log C going to Rec 709. And I could have done that with a color grade effect on top as well. I'm actually going to get rid of that, but select them and paste it. And there we're seeing, obviously, we could be controlling on a shot-by-shot basis how that tone mapping is happening. But most of our color grade will be done in the log C level, okay, of our clip. So that is just a way of giving other options to the colorist on how they want to treat their images. Now we're going to explore another option. Actually, just gonna clone this. And actually here, just to maybe make this quicker. And now I kill 2 stones with 1 bird. No, I'm not going to do that. Over here, okay, yeah, log 3G10. That is fine. Over here, I'm going to add a unicolor effect. And in this unicolor effect, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go from log C, input gamut, array white gamut, to AP1, output curve, Asus CCT. Sorry if I'm being too fast. Please let me know. Asus CCT, and obviously I'm gonna propagate this to all the selected unicolor effects that I have here. And over here will be almost the same. And actually, I'm going to use the same unicolor effect for a second. Paste it. But just change, obviously, the input curve, which would be is going to be red log 3G10. Input gamut is going to be red white gamut RGB. And as well, select it, click on the clip that I want to propagate, and propagate selected. And there we go. Now I have all my clips are now in Asus CCT AP1 working space. I'm going to apply my color grade node. Okay, whoops, the gesture didn't work. Okay, and over here, on top of this, I'm going to apply my Asus Odt effect. And this Asus Odt effect, obviously, we're going to go here from Asus CCT, and input gamut is going to be AP1. And in this case, for what we are doing here right now, we're going to go to our Rec 709 output. And this is what I'm going to do. In this case, propagate all objects because there are not all other Asus Odt effects. And now, basically what I've done is I've converted all my clips inside my timeline to work in Asus, okay? There's other options as well. Now every raw clip has the option of outputting to linear and Asus as well. But in this case, with a unicolor, you can control also the output. And sometimes what's going to happen, or what does happen, is that your DOPs may be worked with or shot something viewing the log.c file, but not in an Asus pipeline as it should be. So over here, if I show it in if I hide these right now, you could actually go back to the log.c option of your original clip. Okay, so I'm going to double click here on my Asus Odt, and in the color node, I would start doing my color grade in Asus space. Okay. All right. So we are viewing here three different options of working inside Mistika. One is working in a ARRI log.c working space and using the ARRI log LUT to go to Rec 709, and that is the one that we are using. Also in our red footage that we are converting first to log.c, and then we are applying the Rec 709 LUT from ARRI as well. Second option of what we are seeing here is working with ARRI log.c as a working color space. And instead of using the ARRI log.c to Rec 709 LUT with the K1S1 tone mapping, we are building our own tone mapping with the color grade node effect, okay, which is over here, okay, and we would obviously have to tailor this from shot to shot. That's something else that you would want. Here's another option, which is working in Asus, debayering the clips in their camera native transfer functions and gamuts, and then going to Asus CCT AP1, color grade node effect. Sorry, double click on the Asus Odt effect for a second there. And starts grading in Asus color space, okay? And obviously there is another option very similar to this that some other users might want, is actually in a display referred workflow is directly going to Rec 709 or from the clip, or using the Asus Odt effect to do this, which I've seen some Mistika ops doing it. And basically is, I'm going to clone this for a second. Actually, no, I didn't need this one here. It's applying the Asus Odt. And these clips over here, go log.c, Alexa white gamut, output space, Rec 709. Propagate this to selected. And over here, similarly, but from red log 3G10 and input gamut, red white gamut RGB, to output space, Rec 709, and over here, propagating that to here, all the clips. And then on top of this, apply the color grading effect. This would be perfect valid if you are just doing display referred grade, and you want to use the tone mapping from Asus on all the clips that you want to work on. Okay, this would be perfectly valid to do in all these shots. Then obviously the working color space here would be Rec 709, exactly the one that we placed in the ODT. So this is for some of the options there that you want to color grade after the tone mapping in Rec 709. Okay, but now going to look here a little bit to some of these red shots, because now we're going to do something in Asus and in HDR. Actually, I'm going to get all of them. We're going to get this here because it's already in Asus. And I'm going to change the ODT to the ODT that Netflix would request you to master all your HDR content in, which would be P3D65. And if you have an X310 monitor, Sony X310 or Flanders XM, I think it is XM311, 1000 nits. If you have the 310 from Flanders, it would be 3000 nits. And in this case, P3D65, 1000 nits, 50 nits of ambient light, that is important. And ST2084, which is actually the standard of the PQ curve. And over there, we're gonna hit OK. And in this case, I'm going to propagate this to selected clips. I think there's a question. Let's see. What is your general best workflow? First, color grading, second, fade in, fade outs, cutting media, and third, artwork and text, or some other way could help us build a better general workflow. Normally, I would do the conform first. I think this is a message that Marcel has sent me directly. Maybe that's why some of you can't see it. It's asking me if how would be the best workflow inside Mistika. Normally, what I would do is first do the full conform, be sure that the full conform is done, then do the color grade, and then add all the 3D artwork and text necessary. That's normally the steps that I would take. But as sometimes happens, you don't get sent the artwork until the very end, or there's one file that is changing, or there's one edit that changed at some point. We will learn here with the match and paste utility that could really be helpful at some point. Okay. In terms of which color workflow I prefer here, for example, and I think that is an important question, I would prefer to work in a Asus color space workflow. that would be my preferred color workflow right now. First, because you could easily communicate with other systems and other softwares, and you are always working on a standard. Secondly, communication is really important, and we should actually encourage it a lot more. And I also think that it's just going to get better and better because of how many people are inputting into that workflow. Okay, so over here, let's have a look at HDR. Obviously, we do not have an HDR monitoring here, but one thing that I do have here in Mistika is that I built a few display filters in the past. Okay. Actually, I'm going to change this one to pad fit so I can see it properly in my live output. And over here, I have a display filter that I created, which is 203 nits PQ, and I actually choose there to show it only in the scope. So I created my own dotted line there to tell me where diffuse white sits. Okay. This obviously, if I had a HDR monitor here, I obviously would be watching this in HDR as well, and that would be actually really helpful. And I also have a 500 nits limit. The reason why I have this is because a movie that I worked on last year, the DOP requested not to go beyond 500 nits in the grade. So I created these two display filters to kind of help me set where the 203 nits diffuse white level should be, and 500 nits, which was the threshold level that the DOP wanted. So over here, this would help me while I was doing a grade. That's what I try to say, that display filters can be really useful and explain and show you how they really work, because you could actually build any display filter for any need that you might have. And in this case, I just built this, so it will just display the right information that I needed in my scope to do some work. So obviously here I'd be able to play maybe with the color grade and actually say, okay, once I'm bringing the exposure up, I could see that over there, the headlight over there would be hitting 500 nits if I viewed this right now. Let's go to this sunny shot. We can see here that the clouds will be hitting 500 nits, and most of the clouds would be just over diffuse white, which would make it like a really nice, interesting shot. And actually, no grade has been applied yet. So this can make it really interesting. So do you remember last week? Well, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we started working with the color grade and some of the pivot points. Something that could be really interesting is that if I add a new layer here, okay, and in this case, let's do one thing. In this case, have pad to fit. Let's put crop to fit here, so it's nicer. We don't have black bars in our images. Okay, and vector number 2 here, I actually define here now the white point at 58%, which is actually where diffuse white would be in 203 nits. It would be 58% of the signal. And in Asus, we're in Asus color space, generally diffuse white would fall around 55% here. In the PQ signal, it would be 58, but we're not working on the PQ signal. Sorry, I need to correct myself there. But what is the interesting thing of this here is that I could start working creatively with how those clips, those elements are going beyond diffuse white and where they're peaking. Okay, so that can make it really interesting. If I also go here to another shot, let's see it with lights. It might be a bit more interesting. And let's see, let's double click and I bring in the grade there. Over here with the lights, obviously you could see there that now I brought the lights far higher than 500 nits, and that's where I can position this. Now, we've also talked about being able of defining this in bands, and in bands we could actually define a little bit better how we can work here, and we could easily see here in the histogram where the lights on top of the window are, okay? And we could say, well, actually, I really don't want to play with them here right now. And I could use just here, the midtones here, just to maybe bring some detail up and add maybe just a tiny bit of contrast there. And we could see that her shirt, okay, that is white, it is a diffuse white, will start obviously to get closer to diffuse white levels there, although especially in the red channel over there. So maybe over here is where we would go and say, okay, no, let's just bring a little bit the grade down and do that. Obviously, view this in an HDR monitor because it won't be exactly the same. But this is not only in HDR, because obviously we are working in Asus. The working space is Asus here. So if I put this in Rec 09, let's see, might be horrible. Actually, it's not too bad. Okay. Now let's see it in Rec 09, which you could actually see it a lot better. I can focus there now with my grade in the histogram and define, almost as if I were defining zones, how I'm working in my black point, shadows, midtones, and highlights inside an Asus working space. Okay, so I would really have a lot of control on how the grade could be. Okay. Okay, I think we are an hour in. Do you have any other questions about color management and stuff like that? I really would want to go back to our edit so I can explain the last things about the edit, and you guys could send me over your exercises. Is that okay? Okay, I'm going to understand that that is okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do is close Mistika for a second and open in HD just as we did last week. Okay. I'm going to save this timeline as in Asus, you mean, Marcel, or in any other thing? In Asus, you would need to go to an EXR 16-bit linear light file, okay? And that's the exchange format between different systems for every or any Asus workflow project, okay? So here in the Mistika config tool now, I'm going to go back to my ICA Mistika Essentials first one that I built, and I'm going to press OK. Okay, and we're going to go to Mystic Boutique. And last week, oops, no, I have to go to the right project. ICA Mistika Essentials. And if I remember correctly, last week, we left things here at this point, although no, it was in the other timeline that we had the graphics and everything set up, right? Yeah, I have some of the graphics here hidden. Yeah. Okay. And I think it's the same thing over here. Same thing over here. Okay, so just a quick reminder, we built here dummy clips to control our graphics, okay? And basically, we did it here in the first one. Okay, brings in this. Why so? Because when we do our color grade, I would place that on top there, and then we will have, let me show you here in the record monitor, no live video, we would have our graphics comped on top of this, okay? I'm gonna quickly just put this down here because I still want to show you other things about the grade and other things inside, things that could help us work faster in Mistika. For example, here, I have this color grade, and I obviously have done a grade on top of this, and I'm going to add another layer. And maybe here, client says, can't we just add just a little bit of contrast there in our shadows, drop a little bit the shadows there, just maybe add a little bit there of a curve. Okay, maybe that's a bit too much, but at least it's something just a tiny bit. Okay. And one thing we can do right now is I'm going to copy this, just copy the whole clip. And over here in Mistika, I'm going to select all my clips available here and press match and paste. And in match and paste here, I have the option of saying match media source path and maybe match media real name a little bit. And let me see the name of the clip here we're working. Okay, it's capture 0011. Not the most handy real names for these kind of projects, but well, we'll work with it. Let's see what we get. Okay, so again, I'm just going to copy this. Capture 11, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say 8. Copy this and select all the clips here, match and paste, and actually tell it just match it with any clips that shares the first 8 characters of the real name. Okay, and I press paste. And there we go. You can see now they're highlighted. Now all those shots inside Mistika now have the same grade with the curve fix that we've done, and also have the gang information. Okay, now, so if I go here to my gangs and go here to solo mode, all of them have that curve grade that I've just done, okay? And it copied the whole grade, okay? So it's a way of copying and pasting grades just by setting different rules in match and paste of how you want it to work. But let's say, actually, we do not like what we just did there. Let's just remove what we've done in curves, okay? Let's remove it here for a second. And you know what? I really want to change this and maybe stylize the colors of this a little bit more. And well, let's kind of make the midtones. No, I'm going to go to primaries here. I'm going to go to primaries, but I'm only going to go in the chroma. And in the chroma, I'm going to use my contrast trackball instead of my offset trackball, which I almost use by default. And let's do a little bit of an orange and teal. I know it's boring, it's very Hollywoody, but let's just do it. Let's see what we get. Cool thing here of the contrast trackball is that obviously the white trackball is going to do going to go in an opposite direction than the lift trackball. So over there, being quite aggressive there, that's where I leave the lift. Good thing as well, we saw in before that we could change the pivot points to adjust them to the levels of Asus CCT to work with. But what about playing with levels here to kind of define how stylized we do our orange and teal here, how we could define how that chroma is being worked on only in the chroma channel of the two of this shot. And now I say, actually, I want to ripple this to all my clips. Well, one propagate mode that we haven't seen yet is current gang. In the current gang, the clip that I'm working on right now is main shot, and I'm going to press perform propagate to current gang. Selected vector number 5, which was the vector that I wanted to, and now every single clip has had vector number 5 updated, no longer has the curve correction that we did, but it does have that little bit of orange and teal tints that we've added to the clip, okay? So that is a way of us working faster with the color tools in Mistika with using gangs and propagate. One thing interesting that I didn't explain the first day that we worked with gangs is actually here in the gear over here. I normally always leave it in when I add a stack to a gang. I always choose the option add remove from gang all effects on the current stack. I don't use any of the other two. I really want my whole stack to have the same gang properties, okay? So it's easy for me to replace something if I consider it necessary, okay? But anyway, if you find a way of doing it in another way, feel free to play with it and change it. That is definitely something I do recommend you guys to play with there if you wanted to. Okay, obviously I'm going to get rid of the solo here. You're impressively quiet today. No one has any questions? Or that, or I'm explaining really well today. Well, shout out if you have any questions. I'll be here to answer them.
It's a lot of input. We need to...
yeah.
we need to all take it in, huh?
Okay, great. Let me see. I forgot what I wanted to explain here now. Sorry, let me check 1 second again. I think there's a microphone open right now. Okay. Okay, one thing we have to look into still that we didn't see. I'm going to choose another shot to do this, and I think this one over here is good for that. And I'm going to copy the grade of this one into this shot. Okay. All right. So we have this shot, and maybe we feel. I think I never got to explain how dynamic grades work here. So actually, I'm going to add a new layer, and let's say that we want to kind of change a little bit the grade towards the end of the shot. So you can press I, and that would add an in point in our timeline here. And then over here at 360, I'm going to press O. Okay, remember that also here you have handles to adjust the zoom in over here if you wanted to. Okay, that is really handy. Not with this shot because it might be short, but with other larger shots. And now, anything I do in the grade after the out point is going to be keyframed where the out point is. And anything I do before the in point will be defined as obviously that you're changing the grade before the in point. If there's something you want to change halfway through, you could add another in point, okay? And there you would go. You would be able to modify that. And you could see there that that blue line defines different moments of this. Another thing is, what if you add an out point? Well, now there's two dynamics going on. You've defined an output over here. And maybe you could do just reset here. And it will just reset it in those values over there. Now, one thing we need to know, like for example, when we use the match and paste options here, is when you want to apply it somewhere else, like for example over here, it's just to match and paste on this one, but just like that. You have animation options here: ignore animated keyframes, keep original keyframes, or scale animation to fit target slot. Just going to press paste here and over there. Did it do anything? For 1 second, I believe it didn't show it. Okay, let's do that again. Oh no, I think I didn't. Sorry. Sorry guys, I didn't copy it. Over here. There we go. Now it did do it, okay? And you can see it adjusts it there to the size of this clip, okay? So that's why we have to be careful when we do these operations, okay? Because obviously it will adjust the keyframes that we have, okay? Just to bear in mind that I wanted to show you those things, okay? Then Okay, let's start preparing the graphics here. Let's do. We got this one already. So once we've done the color grade, and maybe what I'm going to do over here is actually same information here. I'm going to go to these graphics over here. That's not the one. That one. I'm replacing one with the other. Okay. Make a group, and this one I will apply on top of this. Obviously, it's not there where I wanted it to be, and it's not displaying the right information. Why is that? Let's navigate in there for a second. Maybe it didn't need all those things. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay. Wait a second, sorry guys. I'm gonna open this here and do this properly. So we have this, and we have an alpha channel here. It's round. Okay, so we did need to work on this. We're going to add the channels effect, where we are going to multiply all of them. Sorry, guys, lost my track here for a second. Should be able to put these here. Okay, the reason why you're seeing that in the alpha channel is because we are still inheriting the alpha channel of the denoise. So now something else we could learn is if that ever happens to us again, we could use the effects here that is called clear alpha. Okay, and then in our alpha channel there, we will have a white solid instead of inheriting whatever the denoise effect had. Okay, just just in case. Now, obviously, that is not exactly how we want this, because we don't want it to be there. You could choose here layer 1, and you could see that frame activates over here, and we could make it smaller with control. Okay, and position it to one end here. Okay. Obviously, here we had keyframes that we're going to move. These are the attribute blends. Obviously, these have changed here. If we want to move keyframes, something I didn't show before, press Control, hit the keyframe, and move it to the end. And same thing with this one over here. Okay, and we just do 12 frames there. That should be enough. Okay, and there we go. But something here isn't working as we want to. There we go. That's it. This one didn't need to be multiplied. That's why. And now that is better. Okay, that's a lot better. Okay, so one is ready. We got two more to go. Okay. Let's go to the end of our edit. And we're going to, obviously here, add another Com3D effect. And this one, as we saw in the EDL, it did come here by cut. Gonna add a dummy clip effect here. And then obviously just apply this one here. Be careful there with the range of the dummy clip. Background is input 1. Remember, Control to bring it down, Shift if you want to move it around, although you can move it around with anything. Alt if you want to put it upside down. And leave it like that, okay. Over there, just let's position it there. And attributes blend here, order key 0. And 81 for 12 frames. And if you wanted it to blend from here as well, let's go 0 here, 12 frames in. You could also type in here 25. It will jump to anything you would want over here. And also you could obviously change this to frames. Go to 40 and we'll go to the frame 40 or 65 if you wanted to. Okay. Don't know if it accepts mathematical operations. No, just 2 digits there. Okay, and here 12 frames to blend it up. Okay, and now we've got that graphic in. Now, I'm going to get rid of this thing at the bottom because it was the conform protected for me. And yeah, I'm going to get rid of this here. And I'm going to start preparing the edit to be exported. And I'm going to go to 1 second over here because there's one GFX that we need to add, which is our TV channel bug, which I'm going to drop there in the timeline. And over here, just do this, get duration, select that clip, set duration. Okay, and obviously, if I wanted to here, reset my time code here and say set position. Whoops, use set position. Okay, and now add a comp3D and remember This obviously needs to have 2 inputs. We can put it like this, and that's how we would see it. And obviously that is way too large. Yeah. We need to define the background, and the background is going to be input 1. This is really important. Why am I doing it like this now? I'm going to tidy it later for a second. Okay, let's put it here. Size, actually, I think 20%. It might be too much, I think. That is too much. Let's put 10. Okay, there we go. 10, and the transparency of 30. Yeah, 30 looks nice. Yeah, 30, that looks elegant enough. Maybe 40. That's it. Okay, one reason why I wanted to do this is, like, for example, here I obviously moved the timeline, and I fell just in right this spot over here. And now I have the Comp3D, and obviously I want you to get familiar with how to read the Evo-tree timeline here. We've got a Comp3D that has 1 input, which is the 3D background, as you can see there, okay? And this 3D background has obviously Comp3D and the dummy clip and the graphics on top. Okay, and then layer number 1 here, it's here at the bottom. Okay, that's why it was important for me to show you this, so you knew exactly how to read this Evo tree in Mistika. Similarly, if I showed here the node graph, we would see it here. But generally, the node graph doesn't really work well when you have spanned clips like this one in the timeline. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend using the node graph in those moments. I would recommend using the node graph every time you have a stack. When you're working with a stack, the node graph is really helpful. Okay, but you could at least see, obviously, a node graph representation of this as well. Okay, then if you want to keep it tidy, you could do exactly what we've been doing all throughout these sessions. We put a dummy clip here, group it, and then put that on top of everything. And now what we have is we have our video. Okay, great. After everything I've showed you is a bit jumpy. Okay, so please, in your exercises, do a better job than the one I've been doing. Okay, it's not really matching here, and maybe I should have made it to match. But please, in yours, try to be obviously as precise as possible in that. But what we are missing is sound. Okay, so we're going to bring sound in. And again, we've imported all of this before. So we have sound, and we have 2 audios here, English and Spanish. I'm going to bring the 2 because this is going to help me to show you how to route things in Mistika. First of all, I'm going to align these, and then I'm going to set the position to 0. Okay, so now we have our audio here. I don't know if you would be able to hear anything. I think you can't right now. That's it. So, but you would be able to see the waveforms over there. Okay, obviously it's peaking because both audio channels are directed into the same. Volume meters, we go to the setup panel, and here we only chose 2. In this case, I'm going to choose 4 because in this exercise, imagine when there were tape layoffs. I guess that if you ever did tape layoffs, sometimes you would have the request to put general mix on channel 1, 2, only voices in 3 and 4, I think it is, a different language in 5 and 6, and all that. So we're going to learn how to do that with this file as well. Although you don't need to do it for this exercise. So right now, first of all, this would be the routing panel inside Mistika, okay? But as well, we do have, if I double click, also parameters here, where you could actually change the voice and you could change the volume, of the file as well, okay? So you could fade up and fade down and keyframe it if you wanted to as well. But I'm going to show you a trick as well to not having to keyframe. And basically over here, you have it tells you how many tracks it has, and then in routing here you just select the clip. In this case, let's select the Spanish clip, okay, which is the one that says SP there. And over here, what we're going to do is actually move this to channels 3 and 4. Okay, 3 and 4. And now you could see there that the Spanish sound is on channels 3 and 4, and the other one is in channels 1 and 2. Okay, so that is a way of defining how to route the audio. It's also something really important. This will impact on the render settings. So if you have 2 output channels here, this is what is going to be rendered. So always bear in mind that when you hit render, that is what is going to happen, okay? If you need to add more channels here, you would go to 4 and hit apply, and it will be applied into the output. But over here, I would choose 2 for this exercise. And actually, I'm going to get rid of the Spanish channel. And there you have now just 1. OK, so let's prepare our timeline to render. First thing, cool thing of having this TV bug here on top of this is that actually, we could be rendering from here, just selecting that node, and Mistika will understand, okay, I need to render from this node. If we didn't have it, okay, and just for a second, I'm just gonna hide it here for a second. Over here, we would need to define in and out points. So for example, if I selected these and I press U, it would put in and out points of my render clips. And these are the clips, these are the markers that define the render. These are going to be the render markers as well, in and out. Remember, we also have, with W, start and end markers. These start and end markers are just the start and end of the play header, okay? So that's what that is defined with, okay? So, I'm going to get rid with Shift S and Shift E of the start and end. And let's go to the output panel here. And in the output panel, one thing that we've already did was in the past, we defined, we did a cache of the clips the other day, but let's change this and go final grade 001, or no, let's say English audio. Yes, because we do want audio here in movie, or if you wanted to render uncompressed audio, you'll be able to do that here. And for example, in this case, we wanted a single. And we could save this as a preset, actually. I could go here and say, save as master render. Well, no, let's be better with this, because obviously let's put it in a folder that is called master, at least, okay? let's make this, obviously, that makes sense. New folder, let's call it master. Open this one. And we are going to press here OK. All right. And we're going to hit render. So now this is, we're going to save here this as a render preset, our master renders. Okay. And obviously this is a ProRes. I want to choose something else, ProRes 444. In this case, play foreground, and it will render the audio and then the image. Okay, obviously we have the denoised clips there, but well, it's doing it in under 28 frames per second, 25 frames per second, almost real time with the denoise elements as well there, which is all right actually. Okay. I'm going to cancel this for a second. Okay, this is the one consolidated file. Why did I choose this with in and out points? Well, because, for example, if I don't put in and out points, I choose this. Mistika, if I do exactly the same thing here, a little bit selected, knows, oh, you selected that node, you want to render that node. And that node, it's precisely a node that gets hold of many clips. Okay, so that's why it didn't ask you to add an in point or an out point. What happens if you have just, this happens a lot once you're Mistika up, you have in and out points because you've done an edit or you've done a previous render and you have something else selected, okay, like that clip over there, and you press foreground render. Mistika is going to ask you if you want to process the edit marks or you want to remove the edit marks and process the selected render. The selected clip, okay? If we do remove edit marks and process selected, obviously this has the same name, and that's why it's telling you a clip or script with a given name already exists. Do you want to override it? In this case, I'm going to say yes, okay? And it will, let's actually let Mistika do this render. Okay, it's about to finish. 6 seconds to go. Okay, and it did it. It dropped it there. Why? Because we had selected the color grade node here. Okay, and that's why it did it. Okay, obviously important things. Well, don't know what I clicked there for a second. Important thing here, obviously, we need to define the rules, the timecode rules, timeline timecode, clip TC. This is when we do split to segments render. Okay, so this is basically every shot. Like for example, you're doing VFX pools for a show. So actually, let's simulate that. Going to clone these at the very end, put them at the end. And over here, I'm going to say, and I really recommend doing this in Mistika right now. Let's actually say that this is a EXR sequence, okay? And this EXR sequence, because it's something that we're going to send to our VFX, it's going to have tape name, the default tape name target. Okay, you can change these in VM config. Okay, like for example, if you come here and press here, you could change here with different folders and different wildcard options, the different storage paths that you want to use. So if you want to change something here, you can see the different wildcards or whatever, and define how it's done. Once you get around it, it's actually something really powerful. Okay, so in this case, what I would recommend, because in this case we are going to separate this by timecode, is actually save this as VFX pools. So these are my VFX pools, and every time I load this one by clicking or double clicking, I already have, oh, no, it's not timeline PC. Okay, so save. Yeah, I want to write that. Clip TC. Source clip tape name, yeah, that's it. Or source clip media name as well, whatever you want, whatever you've defined inside Mistika. When you imported it, you have those two options. Use source clip media name over here. No audio, okay, so I'll save this preset again. And just need to keep it tidy, VFX pools as well. And this first index is important, okay? Why? Because for every single clip that Mistika is going to create here, it's going to have index number. And I'm going to press foreground now. And we're going to see every new render is going to be populated. And we can't see it here right now, but obviously my first index here was 0, 0. Okay, so that's why it says 00 here. You can see here, this one says 001, 002, 003. Okay, this really depends on how you want to organize your clips. If you really wanted to have index number, or you already have defined timeline with different edits, and you know those are the shots that are in the right order, and you want to put it that name. You don't need to start from 0. You could actually start with 1000, for example. There you go. That's it. You could also add handles of 15 frames or 15 frames here as well, and hit render again. And for example, there you could see the time code it's getting. It's getting the original time code of the clip, and it's showing it to you in the timeline as soon as it finishes rendering. Okay. So you can see here that we've created a split to segments option, and to finish our edit. Over here, we are going to go for the master render option that we had here with audio and everything. I'm going to hit in and out, okay, to render the whole thing. Final grade English before I send it to anywhere, and press foreground. Yeah, we know we have one with that same name, but yeah, we want to overwrite it. And that is it. Oh, no, there's a small mistake that I've done here. Actually, we want to put the render name as tape name source, in the metadata of the clip. This is important. Okay, we're going to put render name there. Okay, actually, I'm going to save this in my preset, okay, to be sure, and then press foreground, and now it is rendering it with final grade EMG, which is the name I really wanted it to have. So, questions?
Those handles,
yes,
that you specified, are those blanks on the front and the end of each clip, or?
It will get it from. I'll open them now. I'll open them now in a second, and we will see. It will get them from the source clip. Okay, it will try to add frames from the source clip there. If the
Okay.
source clip does not have those 15 frames of handles, you could, no, it would freeze the last frame, yeah, or the first frame. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right.
Legalize node. Yeah, we could have added a legalize node. I didn't think of that. Sorry. Yeah, that's a very good point, Alan. Thanks. So actually, let's cancel that. That's a very good point. We could actually select this clip that gets hold of everything, and we could use the legalize node for that. Yes, and we will legalize, especially in some shots where I've done a very aggressive grade in some points. So normally I try not to do that, or I do it in a color managed workflow. So that's why I didn't have the legalize node, but you do have the legalize node here as well. Okay. Anything else, maybe any effects here that might be interesting for this in this case? No. Okay, let's go back to output and now press foreground. Yeah, that's it. Let's let this render finish, and then we will have a look at those EXR renders that we did. BRB, what does that mean? Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah. I don't know, we work with so many acronyms that I don't know, maybe it was something else. Any other questions you might have? You can open the microphone if you want to. Have you enjoyed it so far? Have you, I guess that if you're here, you have, which is great. I actually think it's a really powerful tool, and it deserves an opportunity at least. And I'm really glad I've been part of this. Okay, just 1 minute and 20 seconds to go. No. So Alan is asking if the legalized node is useful in HDR. It wouldn't, because the legalized options in HDR, the signal goes to different levels. Okay. But that's a great question that you're making, because many people will tend to think that they do, but the legalize option, and here in Mistika and in some other tools as well, just legalize the values, the video legal values there. So you would need to build a specific one for HDR if you wanted to, and it would really depend. This is the issue. Really depend on the output format that you're going, which if you're doing an HDR 1000 nits, you would want to kind of legalize it to 1000 nits. And that's why I would recommend in those cases using an Asus workflow because it will keep all those legalized values inside 1000 nits anyway. Okay. All right, so we have our final render, and there you can see it renders clip with audio and video. Okay, you could even break it if you wanted to, or actually you could combine it again. All right, and those are the different options. We didn't see the renders, VFX pool renders. Let me go to media here for a second, because there should be a way I could view this. If I go to render, and here in VFX pools, no, don't. Here I should be able to bring these two. There we go. Remember, you have always the information of what you rendered it as render scripts here, the R&Ds, okay? So over here, all these different R&Ds, these are render scripts, and they contain exactly what you asked Mistika to render, okay? So even if right now I had a crash and I didn't save the project, thanks to having these render scripts, I could go back to any of these edits. Now, let's open up, let's extend this clip, okay? Maybe let's zoom in a bit. Let's see actually an image here. Okay. Oh, was it this one? It doesn't say here that it has handles. Oh, no, maybe I did it here. It's these two, the ones I did with 1001. Sorry, guys. 1001. There we go. This is the rendered clip. And this rendered clip, yes, you could see the 15 frames we added there are just right there, exactly 15 frames more of what we wanted to, okay?
Those are stills, I think.
Stills?
Or is it?
No, it's video.
No, it's not. Okay.
No. Okay, so that will be it, yeah. So yeah, Mistika would try to obviously do those frames, okay? Might be a difference if one of the clips we've rendered was a group. Maybe that one does freeze frame the end, but because some of them are time warps, I think that doesn't happen because the time warp is something flexible. But when it's a group, it might freeze start and end, okay? That might be the case, okay? So if you've tried it in the past and maybe you got that result, check if you maybe had a group, if you were rendering a group, and that's why start and end frames were cloned, basically, well, extended. Okay, so I think we've gone almost through everything. What do you guys think? Any questions, anything else you want to add? Okay. Just want to show you one more trick in Mistika that some operators use. In this case, we had that bug, that TV bug that was actually helping us to select the whole thing. But some Mistika ops use an effect that is called scope. Okay, and it's an effect that doesn't do anything. Okay, it doesn't really do anything. So if I select my edit and get the duration and set the duration here and set the position to 0 and put it like this, it would do exactly the same thing. But some Mistika ops, when they want to render something, they actually come in here and select this scope effect and put it, and it's a way for them to kind of organize how they want the timeline to do. Okay, so over here they do it, and that's it. This scope effect, it's actually, you can see nothing. It could change formats of the clips, but it can't do anything. Another reason why some ops use the scope effect is to put in shapes. So for example, here, we haven't done any heavy comping, but let me think about something here. Here, just a final snippet of things here. Okay, so for example, if I wanted to here enter inside clip. And obviously here we're working with an alpha channel, okay? And this is the alpha channel, right? Okay, which is exactly the same as the RGB. But I want to add the shape or whatever, okay? Instead of doing it over the Gaussian blur, which I could, you could actually paint a shape here, okay? Come here and create a shape on top of it, okay? And define if you fill it, you clear it, you keep it, and let's see the result on top, okay? Over here, okay, you could see it. Obviously, here you could change the mode in which that shape is working, if you're combining, if you're inverting or whatever with that shape. To keep it tidy, many Mistika ops rather use it in a separate effect and kind of use the scope effect as like a shape effect, okay? So when they do an operation like this, okay, it would come here and maybe create the shape. Use it in a different node effect here, okay? And still, this would have the same options, obviously, to combine, intersect, or subtract, or whatever we are using. Obviously, here we have clear alpha, but if we want to keep it, we would have the option there. For example, if I want to subtract, because I want to simulate that over here. Okay, record monitor. Okay, I can navigate inside here my scope, and I don't know, let's do this here for a second. Okay, there we go. That's exactly what I wanted now. Okay, over here, if I double click and the dummy clip here, the scope effect here is actually there. The effect in which I'm doing the shape. I'm not using any other shape to do that. And actually, if I even wanted to here, this one, and do this, for example, let's track that. Let's go here to shape tracker. Okay. And over here in this shape, we choose different option. Okay. Okay, depending on how we have defined the alpha channel there, we would have the option there of working on it. And interesting thing of this as well, something that we didn't explain until today, was obviously I might have tracking information here, okay, which we could see here, but shape, form of the shape, I can alter key independently, okay? So maybe, I don't know, just gonna go nuts there for a second, okay? And it adds a yellow keyframe at the bottom of the timeline here. So you could see that the shape, the form of the shape has a different keyframe than the tracking, okay? So that is handy for when you're doing different things. And then if you want to navigate between keyframes, now over here would be like this. No, you should be able, no, because I have this selected. There, if I don't have the tracking selected, you can navigate to the form of the shape because that's actually what you do have selected here. Okay, so there, final thing that I didn't explain in detail in previous classes, okay, with the shapes. You could use them obviously to comp things and to do things around, and here we used it over a scope, so it kind of has its own node, okay? That's one reason why some Mystic Ops use the scope. And then obviously you could have independent keyframes for the form of the shape and the tracking of the shape. Okay. Okay, so any more questions? Can you auto track shape deformation? No, not exactly. No. It kind of does. It does. You could do kind of round the movement and do a little bit of 3D, but not much. No, unfortunately, no. That would be awesome to have, actually. Yeah. Well, can you auto track? What about 3D track? It isn't a 3D track per se. No. It's a cloud tracker. There. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. It's been 4 great weeks. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you have any questions, please remember that you can find me in Slack or in the email that I've shared with you earlier. And just drop me a line there. Send me your environments. And if you have any questions, send me also an email there with questions over there. And I might be able to answer them if you send them over. Okay. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks a lot. See you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Paco.
Bye.
Thank you. I will do my best.
You will.
Yeah, it's a bit different from what we're doing, but I will try to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be fine. Yeah, give it a go. Try to build that timeline that I've sent you guys, and send it over.
Yeah, I will send you the environment when I'm done.
Awesome.
And you can laugh at it.
No, it will be fine. It will be fine.
Okay.
So all we need to do is send you the env file, not the whole.
Yeah,
Not
no,
right.
because I thought with the env file that would be good enough to find. Okay, if maybe the range of a node here has slipped a bit because well, obviously you have you're using Mistika for the first time and you didn't realize something. So I'll send you an email back saying just take care of maybe this because this could change this or whatever. No, just with the env file should be enough. I was thinking of creating a Dropbox, but then I thought actually the important thing is to actually see the timeline and see how the timeline is built. And as I have the media as well, I just need to relink the media and I could render them myself. And easier for you, easier for me. So that's it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, see you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.